This episode of Grounded in Maine is sponsored by ESG Review. ESG Review magazine is published quarterly in February, May, August, and November, and is available for free in print and digital formats. ESG Review is devoted to environmental, social, and governance strategies, technologies, and investments. ESGreview.net is updated every Wednesday with 8 new stories and is home to feature articles, news items, and more. Visit esgreview.net to stay informed and help us spark the collaboration and awareness needed to develop sustainable economies and communities around the world.
There's a place where there's no trouble, no more pain, no more struggle.
Grounded in Maine podcast is an open conversation about how we show up for the world. I started this podcast out of a desire to learn new ways to be sustainable because the word sustainability is big. It can be overwhelming, and I just wanted to learn, different ways to try to be part of the solution and not feel like it's too late. So I am talking to people who are doing different things and learning so much. I hope that you are too.
Okay, I hope you guys are ready for this. This is Mara Mennicken, part 2. This is where it gets really good. So I hope you're ready for it, and I hope you've been waiting. I hope you enjoy this. Have a great day. So you were talking about put your money where your heart is, or vote with your heart. Is that?
Yeah, put your money where your heart is. You got it.
Yeah. Heart is. Yeah. And we have something like that here. It's vote with your wallet. I think put your money where your
totally.
What is it? Yeah, vote with your wallet. So just if you don't believe in something, don't spend your money there. But so I totally believe in that 100%. And so vote. Put your money where your heart is. Absolutely.
Yeah, and exactly. And I think, there was a time where put your money where your heart is. Like, it was more so maybe seen in the charity and donation aspect,
right.
It's like, to Christmas, let's not buy gifts, let's donate, or let's help out others and stuff. But it's really every single day. We have now, and I believe in the States as well, like the local section of supermarkets becomes bigger and bigger, and I hope it's not just a trend that's there to stay, but it's like pretty obvious. Like, I'm in the food industry, and I would say quite connected now after these years, and I know so many faces behind people behind those items that I buy, and I was like, oh yeah, I know this person, I'm gonna buy this product. Like,
Absolutely.
And it's also, that's obviously an exception that I actually know people because it's my industry. But even with other things now that, they make an effort to put a little sign and tell a story of somebody, if it's a local product, I think it helps a lot. It's not just makes it more relatable, but it actually shows you like, oh, this is a family. Like, there's businesses, I had assumptions of like that, turns out they're local family businesses, but they're massive. And I was like, oh my God, I thought not to support these guys, they're like everywhere and stuff. And then I knew a bit more about the company, and I was like, oh my God, they're doing amazing things. Like, and to just say like that Starbucks was one of them. Growing up, like, it was obviously flooding everywhere, and it's like, oh, it's making all these, it's like the negative aspect of globalization, because now every single city has a Starbucks, everything looks the same, and like, it's like there's no
right.
flair, no like beauty to that. But then I read his book from Howard, and like obviously from Seattle, and it's such a beautiful company, and the way he led people and wanted to make a change, like there's no difference in how I get started. It's just that he became massive, and maybe some aspects have changed, but a lot of them haven't. And then I was like, oh, I might not like the coffee as much, but like if I go there, I actually, it's not like comes with guilt. I was like, oh, I shouldn't shop there and stuff. And I think this put your money where your heart is comes down to educating yourself about the things and not making assumptions, because what's out in the news and everything and big corporation doesn't always mean evil, and some small fishes that I mean local, but they actually might not do good things. So regardless of what you buy, like you just have to be an informed consumer, or like conscious consumer, and really know about what you buy. And it's reading the labels, yes, but reading the little story. But if you love a product and you're unsure, it's like you can always look it up and read more about it. Like all this information is now accessible, where back then you sometimes just frankly couldn't figure it out, right? There was no much digging out as much you wanted, but people didn't have social media, didn't share the behind the scenes, and didn't share all the ins and outs and about and where we're from. But now you can find this out, and I would say it's a benefit to the consumer, so we can make more informed decisions. Absolutely. And that's, I wouldn't say it's ignorant if you don't, because it takes time, and it's like it's a bit by bit. You can't know about all the products that you buy. That's impossible. But at least know that if you buy something a lot, maybe, and buy something, always purchase from these kind of eggs, like, are they actually what you think they are? Because you can probably figure it out.
Yeah, totally. I mean, just yesterday, not yesterday, well, yeah, yesterday. Yesterday I made gingerbread with shredded beets, and I got the recipe from one of my local farms. I bought the beets from the farm at the farmer's market. But I just had to try it because I love beets, and I was like, that sounds really interesting. But they also, when I go to the farmer's market, I love they have this sign behind their their little area where they sell everything, and they have they sell bulk greens like lettuces and stuff and spinach, and they always say bring your reusable bags to fill to put your greens in. And then on this sign it says number of bags saved to date, and it's like thousands of bags, and I'm like, I love stopping there, and I just love to just watch that sign and watch the numbers go up, because I'm just like, oh, that's so, I don't see that at the other farm stands.
Okay, cool. But do you have is your single-use plastic not banned?
It was before COVID.
Okay.
And then it was all reversed.
It was all reversed. Okay. So I guess it also depends on the state, maybe? Yeah. Okay.
Because I remember Maine was, I think, the first in the country to ban the single-use plastic, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
But we also just
the problem also with those bags, that's actually crazy. I just tried it out and noticed maybe it doesn't work. People are not ready yet, or we don't have the systems behind it. But we're just talking about what did they just ban? Oh yeah, single-use takeout items, which already to this day was, forks and knives and actually no, you were still allowed forks and knives and stuff, but a lot of the business decided not to. But then now also, what about the lid of coffee mugs, takeout mugs, right? And so before it was just for the cup, instead of saving money at the cafes, because you're actually not allowed to use them, even though they're paper and stuff, you would be charged extra 25 cents. But now the coffee lid as well, where you touch your mouth, then banned as single use. And we're thinking, like, did they think this through? Like, this is like also, I mean, it needs to be food safe, right? You can't possibly reuse them. And now what alternative materials are out there that are that are more sustainable? You need to use a thicker plastic or thicker whatever material it is, but it's actually, to make this material, it's probably going to be more unsustainable than a plastic. Like sometimes the I guess culture or the industry itself is actually not ready to handle those changes in large scale. And one story I wanted to share with a plastic bags. Like, we have plastic bags banned here in supermarkets, and it's been like that. They had like actually a whole plastic reducing plan from the city that over 3 years, I think every 6 months, like one more item was reduced. And so like the
nice.
change was happening really, really slowly. And then the paper, the straws came, and then, they're going like bit by bit. So people can adjust. And it wasn't like businesses who just purchased new inventory of 30,000, coffee stuff that they had to throw it out. They were able to like
Use what
use
they
that
had.
up, and
Yeah.
then you can't really purchase anything else. Well, like styrofoam was one of those things, was the first ones to go, because that's just like the worst thing ever.
So gross.
And I think the problem with plastic has become also that it wasn't just plastic that it was single. It wasn't that plastic has always been single use. Plastic used to be actually the most one very sustainable material. I remember my dad, he still has plastic bags, right, from Aldi, which is one of the most popular supermarkets in Germany, from I think maybe 2 rebrands ago. He has plastic bags that are 30 years old until they disintegrate because he used them so much. He organizes them, he folds them, puts them by size, he uses the right one, and he puts it back. So for him, losing a plastic bag, he's going to notice. He's going to notice to use a plastic bag. And it was just that the plastic bags back then were much thicker, and you could actually reuse them. Plastic wasn't single use. Plastic used to be reusable until thousands of years, because plastic is reusable, right? It doesn't compost, so it's reusable. And so it was just then coming here, was the plastic was so thin that you had to double back, and you can't recycle or upcycle thin plastic, but thick plastic you can. So it was also just the industry evolving and doing something thinner and thinner and thinner and cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, that now it had become single use. But honestly, if we would just go back to quality, thicker plastic, we can reuse a lot of stuff. And it's actually not the worst material to use, because cutting up trees for you making all of this stuff paper now, that you could use a plastic bag like 100 times or more, and a paper bag rips apart after 2-3 uses, is actually not a better trade-off. So that's kind of it's like now we have a hard time. There's no plastic bags anymore. So what do? You buy garbage bags that are plastic. It's like the most ridiculous thing ever. Like, I'm now buying the plastic bags to throw out and use one time. So single use is banned, but I'm still buying something to use once. I'm just paying for it now. That's the only difference, right? So there's honestly, like, some stuff is just so ridiculous, and like I totally even some stuff I'm just like, no, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it. These organic papers to put in the organic waste, I was like, I'm just gonna not use anything. I'm not gonna go out there buy something that then compost for one time use, and just like, so that's the the perception that we have in even comparing one culture to another, or this part of your life to now how we live, and seeing this is the worst, but really actually it hasn't always been that bad. And that's why there's it's just so many nuances to that.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that our grocery stores, I think the larger grocery stores in Maine have gotten rid of the plastic bags. We still have paper bags, but they charge you for them. But plastic bags,
totally.
I think there are not. They just do the produce bags, and they love to use
totally
bags. It drives me nuts.
Yeah.
Can I put that on your chicken or whatever? No, I don't want your plastic. If I wanted plastic, totally. I would have put plastic on it. Thank you. But yeah, not the grocery bags, but the produce bags. But I totally hear you on that. Oh my gosh, the shopping bags have gotten so cheap and so thin that you have to double them
that
up.
You cannot recycle
get a
them
hole
anymore.
In both of them. Oh my gosh, it's even better.
Yeah, and you use this plastic thing one time, right? Yep. And now, because our plastic bag ban has been going on for a while, every single company now has linen bags, right? Reusable bags, which is a great idea. But now every single person has 20, 30 of these things at home that to make them was so much more wasteful than making a plastic bag, and you almost have an overflow of these reusable bags, and then there might be still a day that you forget your reusable bag and you have to buy another reusable bag. So it's like, it's also the quantities of that, we're gonna overdo everything that we start doing. Like, I think it's just, like it was just the tote bags was the greatest thing when they come out. It was like, great, I can use this forever. But then you want a different style, you want something from this company,
Right.
then you forgot your tote bag, and
Right.
then this, it's just this got dirty and whatever. So now we come to maybe use tote bags as something that we actually use way too little, for one bag. That was sold to us, we can use one tote bag maybe 5,000 times. Do we ever do that? No, we get a new one nonstop because there's just so many companies that want to give us their tote bags.
Right. Yeah. And then everyone makes them every year, and they are, the companies that we support, like, in Maine, we have MOFGA, the Maine Organic Farmers and Gardeners Association. And they every year they have a new logo that they do, and so they, I would get a new one every year for Christmas with their new logo. But that, and they're always white, so they're dirty. They always get dirty. They need to be a darker color, thank you.
Yeah. Totally.
A dirty bag.
They come up with a new logo every year. Like, that's
MOFGA
quite
does.
excessive.
They have a different. Oh, it's a different. Is that a logo?
Theme.
Yeah, something like that for their. Because so, MOFGA has a. They do have the same logo. I'm sorry, but they put on a fair every year, and every year the fair has a different, I guess, theme, but they have a different poster. Different poster every year. And so they make a bag with that new poster every year. And it seemed like I got a gift of the bag with the poster on it.
Okay, cool. Okay, that's cute. Yeah,
but it's always a white bag.
It's good for marketing. Yeah, it's like and businesses have to like market their product somehow, and see what works. And so you can also not always say like, okay, like, stop doing this, but it's like, that's the only way we can survive as a business, and it helps us. So
but then there are always people
I
that
do
need
notice,
bags, and you're like, here, have 10 bags.
yeah. Why not having more? Why just having one? Use this. But you also have to pay now for the plastic bags if you get it in the supermarket, don't you? Like, both you should be charged for
bags in the supermarket. It's
okay.
Smaller businesses like farm stands, they do have plastic bags because I think it's like if they make a certain amount of money or something like that, they have to not use the plastic. Like the grocery stores, I think it's because they make a lot of money that they can just say no. But the farmers, like they can't afford like compostable bags or to change up and go more expensive because they make so little off of their product anyway. And smaller stores, but grocery stores, only the produce bags, not our plastic. The shopping bags are not
that you kind of get for free. Yeah. Now when I go to markets, it doesn't really matter what season or what occasion or anything. I always bring like a few paper bags, for people who buy chocolate. And honestly, sometimes I only hand out maybe 3 bags in the total day of the market because everyone has a backpack or a bag with them. Like, it's gone down to almost zero that sometimes I don't even bring them and I totally forget. And people always find a solution, they're like, oh no, just put it in my pocket, no problem. Like, you don't.
I was just gonna say
a
pockets,
lot of people,
or my purse, or
put it
in my socks.
Yeah. So exactly. So there's actually the need. Yeah, everyone has bags now. An abundance of bags, not just 1, 2, an abundance.
We got places to put things.
So that
we're not hurting for that.
Totally.
But so, Mara, when I say the word sustainability, I know we've talked about that a lot, but what does that mean to you personally?
So, as I mentioned, it has evolved a lot. Yeah. I think it started with it being very much only environmentally and that was transportation, how I got around while traveling as well, especially. It's like, how did I travel? Did I travel short term, quick, travel, or when I travel, I was like, I gotta stay long and only have one flight, so at least I'm kind of offsetting a bit of like staying in a one place a lot, not moving around with airplane. It was so it depend like where I was at in like what stage of life. I think honestly, in Germany, even like from getting a car and stuff, like it was never a question. It's like you don't really need one. Like we're living in a small city, but transportation, I think
Transportation is better in
food and
Europe.
transportation, I was aware of very early. And that is both like emission and more environmentally focused. But transportation was one thing. Everyone bikes, you just like have a bike, but not, it's convenience. It's not because you want to be sustainable. And owning a car was never necessary until like 4 years ago. Like literally, I just even my brothers, they're now 35 and they both don't own a car. Good jobs and whatever, right? Not that I couldn't afford, but just like no, we don't want a car. We don't need one.
Awesome.
So transportation and food, I think, was mostly what I thought like that is sustainability to me, and that's where I can do something. Um, and then when I traveled, I think it really. So actually, I went on a backpacking trip when I was 20, and I went through Southeast Asia, and like it was a bit about finding like my belief system, finding what I want to do in the world, what's going on. I don't even know what I want to do. And I did a yoga teacher training there at an ashram, which both teachers were super authentic. One was Indian, and one was in Brazil, but learning in the same school in the Institute of Yoga in Mumbai, as the woman. And I think then I went like that was my phase where it became really extreme, and it was like even veganism and like meat industry. There's so much pollution going on. It's actually the best thing I can do as the person in my lifestyle is being vegan. I would save the most emissions, I think, if I was vegan. So then went vegan, and then it went to the extreme of even buying anything. It wasn't just food, or it's like really this like conscious consumerism, but like I would say to an extreme that I would really, even if I needed something, I would look for it, but I would, even if I see something that I like, I would still go home and not buy it to see if the next day and the next few days I will still really need it. If I'm like, okay, I'm kind of okay, I wouldn't buy it. Like thrift shopping, I think it's really big in Germany. So for me, it was like how I buy my clothing was really, I would never go out and buy random stuff. I was like, oh, I need one belt. Okay, let me go to a thrift store and find one belt. And if I didn't find it, I didn't buy anything. And having that control, right, over your shopping behavior, I think to an extent where it was even, coming to food. And I really thought like, if I like overeat or eat something that I don't really right now even hungry for and stuff, I'm stealing somebody else's, food. Like I was definitely a bit extreme that I was like, oh, really in all ways possible, I just have to save because people don't have enough. There's other people out there that don't have enough. And that's, I think, where the social sustainability really also started, like where the imbalances in the world and who is getting a shortcut of me making this decision or not a bad decision, and helping your neighbors and all of that. What I wanted to study later, or what I studied here in Canada, was actually coming from the philosophies of my yoga teacher trainer, because it wasn't a yoga that was focused on the asanas and the physical. Like it was like literally an eighth of everything, because it's just an eighth of the whole yoga path. It was really going into the philosophies and everything, and there's so much about helping your neighbors. Like pretty much all you do is duty, and you don't get unhappy in a job if you help others. And there's so much duty in that culture of like serving others and serving to the greater good and stuff, that I just, because I didn't have any responsibilities and stuff in the world yet, and I wasn't studying, I wasn't working at this, for me, I just dove like straight in, and I really I had the freedom to incorporate everything, which I see, of course, there was the time of my life there that I could do that. Not everyone has the time and flexibility and privilege to do that. But for me, like, I started questioning everything, and I could like really live everything to a T, because I could, like, I didn't, have people to take care of and stuff. So that's when I was really like, you know what, there's so many things that interest me even in my life that for me, this like whole helping neighbors and doing something for others in the world, I will never get bored of, and it will always be just then a duty, and I will not question it, and I won't be like, oh, I'm not interested anymore. No, I don't like it. For me, that's like, for the rest of my life, I know this has a good impact, and I'm not going to question it so much. So it was more of like also me imagining what I can do in life that I don't get bored of. And so it came to the point of like helping others. I'm never going to put that in question. And then really into this whole ethical sustainability stem all from the yoga practice. And that's like, very, very beautiful, because I think regardless of if I still go on the mat and do yoga or not, like actually how I develop my value system is a lot based in that. And yet, like, obviously the way I grew up and with a little around the world and fair trade shops and separating garbage and living in that sustainable community and stuff, like, all had an impact, in how I live my life here now. But that was really like the catapult to like, okay, what is even like, well, who cares about, why do people talk so much about the earth if a lot of people are not being taken care of? And that's where a lot of from my unhappiness came from. Like, if there was some organization doing something that's not environmentally conscious, it didn't affect me as much as a company I saw doing something that was unethical. It was actually very painful for me to see, and it was like where a lot of like unhappiness would come from if I was seeing people were not well off. Sure. And I thought like, okay, that's like the first thing then I want to be doing. So really, like, now sustaiability obviously for me, triple bottom line, in a business, like it's something that's environmentally sustainable and social sustainable, but not economically sustainable, also is not going to last. So we need all the three pillars, right? Like, if my business doesn't make money, then the others are also not. And that you can even finances and financials and money can also be sustainable. So it's like, I think you need a balance of all the three, and they need to be integrated well enough to last, right? We don't want to stop tomorrow and don't want to like go down tomorrow, but also equally be good in the social area and the environmental area. And you need to make good money, because if the business owner is not happy with the life and you need to just take shortcuts and you don't make any money, honestly, it's also not sustainable. Like, so I think there needs to be a balance. Definitely, you can do everything for like a certain amount of time, but after a while, I think everyone also needs in these days, like, needs money, to also make good decisions and stuff, because if you're not being taken care of, you cannot make good decisions. So yeah, I think it's really the triple bottom where it has led to in all the, explorations of what I find are important.
Valid. I like that. Very true. And so, wow, gosh, Mara, you've given us so much to think about. How can someone find and follow you and find your chocolates? And then I have another question. I know that European chocolate is supposed to be better than what we get here in the US. And so is ethical chocolate, how does that compare?
People say European chocolate is better because it's been marketed as such. It's the longest standing industry of like, fine chocolate, and they invented everything and the machines, and they're like the big, founders. It's honestly, there is no best chocolate, and Belgian chocolate is better and Swiss chocolate is better. It's like these days we have the means and knowledge, and I think the industry and science is far enough to make the best chocolate no matter where you are in the world. I feel the focus when I go back now, and I've visited like chocolate museums I'm actually from nearby Cologne, and there's a big chocolate museum, and
there's a
and
chocolate
obviously
museum.
there's like good chocolate. Yes.
What?
Yeah. Big chocolate museum,
Maybe I do
3
need to go to
stories.
Germany.
You can see how your own chocolate is made. There's a big fountain. You were able to, like, as actually in elementary school, our school took us there, and you could like line up and then put your like cracker into this massive chocolate fountain that was like 3 stories big. And I just remember, I went there as a kid, but then like 3 years ago, I think I was like, you know what? I need to go back there now that I know more.
Yeah, I was just thinking,
And
is that still functioning after COVID?
oh yes, well the cracker station has changed up. Yeah. So you
You
can
get
you
one
can get
cracker,
something, but you can,
no double
but
dipping.
yeah, no double dipping. You actually not what I actually, it wasn't appealing to me anymore, so I didn't even line up, to be honest. It was not dipping your cracker in there. I'm 100% sure, but that's where all the allures come. Like, like you dunk it in there. I do that in my chocolate making workshops. I host chocolate making workshops, and I always, like, with liquid chocolate, I go around and let people, like,
Oh
eat
yeah.
the liquid chocolate before making this, like, so great. But so now, like, traveling back and forth and seeing both and knowing more about chocolate, it's like European chocolate is actually more, what's valued as good chocolate is, first of all, the comparison to here is usually a bit less sweet, not so like sugar first. And a lot of people say like, oh, it's much better because it's not just sugar. And then the way it melts, and the whole like art of texture and feeling while you eat the chocolate is, I think, has been more in focus there, because also there's lots of pastry and chocolate art and little pieces, and like French pastries, and there's a lot of beauty, physical and textural feeling beauty to it. When it comes to ethical, sustainable, fair trade, health benefits, nutrition, West Coast here is way, I wouldn't say way further, they just put more focus on it. Because now, for me, when I go to Northwest Chocolate Festival, for example, it's in Bellevue near Seattle, chocolatiers from all around the world come, gather. Even craft chocolate industry is usually ethical, fair trade, and they don't, anyone says Belgium. There's not even a thing there that European, nobody prides themselves European. Now it's like not a thing in the chocolate
Wow.
industry, in the people that are knowledgeable. It's just about, where does your bean come from, how it's fermented, how did you roast it, what's your process, what your ingredients and stuff, and it has nothing to do with where it was made, because where it was made is so insignificant. They're like, you can't even imagine. It's just because it's been just such a long time going on there, and like, they always have that marketing. It's like, just Swiss chocolate is good and stuff. There's in terms of what I value, health, sustainability, ethics and stuff, I eat the chocolate in Germany when I go there, and it's much cheaper. That's true. It's more affordable. Even the average to a bit higher quality, it's still, you can find chocolate easily under like €3. That is fair trade and organic, with beans from Ecuador, let's say. Whereas here it starts at like $8.
Oh.
So, a lot of my like German friends, family, they're like, oh, you gotta, move this to Germany, you gotta sell it here, and everything. I was like, it's not even comparable, like how the perception of chocolate there, price perception, and what we do, like, I can't even compete. Yeah, it would be a waste to even I would have a total different brand there, and different sources and stuff, because also my cacao is from Ecuador, but it's also because it's kind of the most immediate, source from here. It is, I could go Costa Rica and something that's a little bit more closer, but in terms of where it is, I'm not sourcing it from Africa, from in Asia. There's a lot of cacao because it's just further away. For me, it's actually sustainable to source this from Ecuador, and on top of that, it's a really high quality cacao. But from Germany, for example, I would find sustainable sources from Africa, because it's the closest place. It's just that you have to figure out which are the sustainable sources first.
Right.
So, yeah, I would say, depending on what we're looking for, if you have like an average consumer, you're not into craft chocolate and you're just like an average chocolate eater, yes, I would say you taste the difference, just because it's less sugary. It leaves you with a nicer feeling, a nicer melt and stuff. It's just because we have less additives and less sugar, right, allowed in these products. But if you talk about like health and ethics and organic and all of that stuff, there's all around the world. And West Coast, like I was actually impressed how far we are in, like, even how do you keep the nutrients in the cacao bean, right? Like, it's so nutritious, the actual cacao bean. Like, how do we make a roast and a growing and a fermentation that you still have all the amazing antioxidant benefits, iron, magnesium, like in the chocolate bar? And that, I think there's zero focus on in Europe. Maybe some very small percentage.
Interesting. Yeah. Wow. So you would say then that the good chocolatier chocolate is better than all the other chocolates?
Yes. Not all, because I know the industry, but some people say it's the best chocolate. It's not the good chocolatier, it's the best chocolatier. Right. I'm really in the space of making craft chocolate, which is artisan chocolate with a quality bean, no additives, well roasted, handmade, that available to somebody who doesn't go to a specialty cacao chocolate shop to buy their chocolate, right? So my chocolate is supermarket ready and is sold in supermarkets. But you can actually go way further in what it means to be a craft chocolate than I do. My chocolate bar sells $8.99 in retail. Actual, like, craft chocolate bean to bar with direct source rather than being fair trade is, I would say, $12 and up. In the Northwest Chocolate Festival, like, we purchase chocolate bars from $15 to $30, and that's craft chocolate for you. It's specialty. It's just like wine. It's like, compare your average wine that it's actually not average, but a wine that you don't know where a grape is from, and it's not a specialty wine region and stuff. Like, you would never trust this, but you trust a chocolate bar that you don't know where the bean is from does not exist in the craft chocolate world, right? It's like there's so much behind it, but it also adds to price. So then I think the people who don't know about craft chocolate, they don't ever gonna go to craft chocolate shops. But we wanted to be in between, like, in between completely full on crazy craft chocolate and the regular average good one that is in the supermarket. It's a bit more pricey, but also way more healthy, way more ethical. Yeah. And I would say, in terms of health benefits, we're definitely up there. I don't think a lot of brands focus on even the health benefits of chocolate, right? Like, and I have customers, they eat that as, like, fuel in the morning. They eat raw cacao beans. They know about partially raw and like light roast and how you preserve the nutrients, and why they eat chocolate as fuel and not just as a treat. Right. And so that's definitely, that's my customer type, who like values health as much as just a delicious piece of chocolate. And even craft chocolatiers, like, they usually use cane sugars, although craft, like, actually, I would say complex cane sugars that are from a direct source and not highly refined and stuff, like, have way more flavor and even some nutrients and stuff, right? There's an unrefined cane sugar. But because the chocolatier I learned from was diabetic, we actually don't use any refined sugars. We use coconut sugar, maple syrup, dates, raw manuka honey, and monk fruit to actually lower your sugar intake significantly. And so you can actually feel the good stuff of the cacao, that it gives you the energy and the good feelings and happiness and good heart stuff and everything, without being distracted by the sugar that you just being, like, high on. Okay. So it is definitely not everyone, not all the businesses that are eating craft chocolate care about the health benefits. It's like really a delicacy. It's like, a treat and stuff. But I eat chocolate in the morning. And it's like, just, it's good for concentration. It's like good for energy. It's like, gives me balance, like state of mind, concentrate, everything. So I eat my chocolate in the morning. With others, I don't necessarily have the same feeling, of like, even energy wise.
All right. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, you look great, so it's working.
Yeah.
Maybe I should try. Yeah.
Eat a little bit more chocolate.
It's do you think that it takes like an acquiring, like you need to kind of get used to that, you need to understand it better before you taste it, so that you know what you're not expecting a candy bar, you're expecting a chocolate bar, right?
I think it tastes a lot better to people who generally already avoid tons of added sugar in their product, right? They get their sugars for the sweets and stuff. They eat a lot of sweets, but it comes from the, fruits and some other stuff that's not like filled with stuff. So I feel you can appreciate my product better if you don't have a lot of refined sugars in your diet already, because the whole refined sugar is like, it's totally, it first of all makes us addicted, and then and it's nothing bad for like flavors and stuff, but actually that our taste buds get so used to this like this intense sweetness, that when you eat my product, it's actually the cacao first, and then the sweetness like comes as an add-on like later on in the journey. Right. So some people is like, oh, it's really not sweet, but it's actually sweet. It just like takes time to break down. It's a more complex sugar. It's more nutritious sugar. It has layers of flavor and stuff. But it's even for Chris, for my partner, who just like sneaked by me, he didn't have so much of a refined palate, and even when I was giving him a piece of chocolate and was like, I'm not going to tell you what it is, like, what is it and stuff, like, it was really, really difficult for him in the beginning to even taste all these things that are part of it. And I think if you usually avoid refined sugars and highly processed foods, your palate just gets refined, and then you taste an amount of flavors and layers. It's like you can't go back. I have a lot of people who say like, you ruined regular chocolate for me, like I can't go back. This is like so much more to what I'm used to, so I can't even appreciate the other stuff anymore. And that is really like, it takes some time, as you said, like to refine the palate and also be present with your food, right? It's like, I think the more we eat refined sugars and processed stuff, like there's no point of being present with it, because it doesn't make the experience better. But if you have like a product that's really high quality, like there's a big difference to being present with your food and not. Like the flavors you're never gonna taste if you're not pay attention to it. So it's definitely, and it's the price tag as well, right? There's this way too, like people are like, I paid a lot for it, I actually don't want to rush it. And that helps sometimes too, to refining a palate.
Just take a moment to enjoy that, and appreciate all that you're paying for. All that it is. That's awesome. You kind of ruined regular chocolate for me in the very beginning, talking about the process. But how can people find you and follow you? And find your chocolate.
If you want to learn about, if you want to learn more about us, I would say like the business and everything, website is always the best for sure. We have actually a web chat there, or like contact form goes directly to me. So then you can reach me. Instagram is great for behind the scenes and all the delicious stuff, of course, and where we are at, and just like how the behind the business and how chocolate works and the chocolate making. So Instagram is a platform we use a lot in the professional sense. If you have a business already and stuff, LinkedIn is definitely a place that I check as well, but there is not so much that I post. It's more like business stuff going on. We're actually going to have our very first show in the States next year, and it's in Albuquerque. The Coffee and Chocolate Fest in April. So if your listeners are not so much based in Canada, then that is like, we are obviously with the FDA, and like we have to change all our labels and like really, be just change a lot of stuff to be there. But we are in the process of it, and we already registered for that event. So I'm super happy to just like, I want to test it out there. I want to see, obviously, like, in just California, there's as much people as in all of Canada. So like the market is also, once you know there's a market for it, it's like a very useful thing. But yeah, so definitely in markets, and newsletter, honestly, is where I share the most about. It's obviously almost the first point of contact. It's just people who already, you really, they've either purchased something, met me somewhere, and I almost find it easier to be very consistent there than on social media because it's more anonymous on social media. So I actually have more joy in the newsletters because I know I can engage almost better with the audience. So yeah, so that's a good start, good point too. We actually just launched a good subscription box where you can sign up and receive chocolate bars, craft chocolate bars every 2 months. And it's bars that we make, and we make a lot of seasonal bars that are, for example, unavailable in the winter time because they're summer bars, and every season there's new bars, and so you have direct access to kind of the wide array of flavors. You get some of my storefront items, which are often like truffles and very unique flavors of stuff that I, just found and make. And then 2 chocolate bars from around the world of makers and producers that are bean to bar chocolatiers that I actually send a video and explain what it's about and why it shows it and what's so cool about them. So if you're really like actually maybe already dove into the world of craft chocolate, like this is the tip of the iceberg because you get to experience a lot what's out there in the world and not just what we do in terms of craft chocolate. That's very, very lovely. I'm like having so much fun with it too because it's like things I've traveled to different chocolate factories, met chocolatiers. I went to Iceland to like visit a factory and like, different people that I met. I was like, oh my God, it's so great to highlight them and to be able to retail them, although it's not my chocolate. It's like not just my chocolate that I love, to be
these
honest.
are up and coming. You'll wanna know about these guys. Was he rocking
Yeah,
out?
totally.
Is he jamming? Chris, as he was walking by.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
Yeah. That's really cool. I love the subscription idea. That's fun.
Yeah. Yes,
okay.
and those are the places.
And so Albuquerque, I don't know much about that, and I hope that will be really well attended.
Yeah,
that's fun. And you're changing
I
like
know
all your labels and stuff?
Yes. Yeah, we have to. So we are hoping like to finish maybe the next few days because in April, need to finish the labels and get everything, FDA approved. We have a point in contact in there. Like it's no fun exporting, but it's I would say it's a small, medium-sized, big enough event where I feel like if we fail, it's okay. It has been a okay try. Whereas going to one of those like Food Expo, Natural Food Expo West, for example, and stuff like it's like 20 times as big as any expo I've ever done here in Canada. So I think that's something that I need to approach a little bit more slow and just to really see it because it's just you spend so much money trying out markets in other countries. But to be honest, like even Canada is so big that even if I were to sell right now, we're just in BC, we sell to like even Whole Foods and 30 different stores, our chocolate bars in retail, and then of course online and like some stuff that are custom orders and stuff. But to go even to a province like on the East Coast, like the shipping and making that product available there is more expensive than going going to the States in Washington. So that's kind of it's like it's like we have to think about what's a good strategy because going Canada wide is super expensive as well. So it might as well, testing it that way.
Yeah. Awesome. And so to find did you give us the website to find the?
It's thegoodchocolatier.com, the good chocolatier, TIER at the end, .com. That's pretty much even online orders and stuff. I actually believe that if your listeners are in the States, it's quite inexpensive to ship to the States compared to, again, Yukon territories in Canada and stuff like that. I had my first order there. I was like, really? Seriously? How do you ever order anything? Like it takes 4 weeks and it's like $40 for 4 chocolate bars. Like how the hell is this even possible? Yeah. So and then
how does it take that long?
Yeah. And it's only Canada posted. Like, yeah, totally. So there's, I think shipping to the States, if you want to order online, that's actually that's the best way. Yeah.
Okay. So thegoodchocolatier.com. And then on Instagram, I know you're the Good Chocolatier, and I think it's the same on Facebook, right? The Good Chocolatier.
Yeah, it's all the same.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow, you got it all just the same. That's cool. All right.
Yeah.
Well, my goodness, this has been so enlightening. I'm so excited. I've been looking forward to this a lot. And justifiably, like this is, you're so knowledgeable. This is really, really interesting. I didn't expect it to be quite so interesting. Like I was thinking, good
chocolate,
that's cool. But you really have done a lot. So I'm so impressed. So Mara, thank you so much for sharing all of this information. And folks, I'm going to have the links in the show notes. And so I definitely check out Mara and the Good Chocolatier. Buy lots of chocolate because it's good for you and it helps people out. Lots of people.
Exactly. That's the takeaway. Also, the more chocolate you eat, the better the world gets.
Right.
Thank you so much, Amy. It was great.
Absolutely.
I just want to take a moment and thank my guest again for speaking with me and sharing such great information. I also need to thank Buzzsprout for hosting this podcast, for Jane Bolduck and her amazing music genius, for Becca Coffron and her beautiful artwork. And I'd like to thank you for listening. Please check out the show notes. I'm going to have links posted in there if you would like to follow this guest and learn more about them. Thank you again. We'll talk to you soon. I just want to take a moment and thank my guest again for speaking with me and sharing such great information. I also need to thank Buzzsprout for hosting this podcast, for Jane Bolduck and her amazing music genius, for Becca Coffron and her beautiful artwork. And I'd like to thank you for listening. Please check out the show notes. I'm going to have links posted in there if you would like to follow this guest and learn more about them. Thank you again. We'll talk to you soon.
There'll come a day, my mama told me, when I find love to have and hold me, a heart that's strong and so sincere. Just tell me, how do I get there from here? Oh, tell me, how do I get there from here? 'Cause here and now I'm so far down that mercy's bound to find me. We'll find a way to soothe the sickness. We'll heal the hate with sweet forgiveness. Wages of war will disappear. Just tell me, how do I get there from here? I wonder, how do I get there from here? Yeah, 'cause here and now I'm so far finally found me, well, there'll be music, ooh, and good friends around me, and I'll just smile through happy tears.